one movie, all the way back in 2008, leaving us in 2020 with 23 movies, and still more to come. It is the grandfather of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It walked so that others could fly, and apparently also so that others could stay in bed. But 12 years after its initial release, is Iron Man still good? So I recently rewatched Iron Man in order to find out, does the film still hold up 12 years later? And honestly, my opinions are a lot more mixed than I thought they'd be. So before we get into this, I really politely ask you if you could please consider subscribing. We are so close to 2,000 subscribers, and if you guys can help us get there, we will be so grateful. If you have subscribed, thank you so much, we really appreciate it, and if you haven't, I hope you at least enjoy the video. The origin of the MCU, Jon Favreau's little film that could, releasing in cinemas on May 2nd, 2008. It wasn't even 5 years old at that point. It made 111 million on its opening weekend and a worldwide gross of 585 million. People still hold this film really close to their hearts, as do I, but I really want to find out if the film really is as good as we think, or if it's just nostalgia covering up the bittersweet truth. Let's go through the pros and the cons. Tony Stark is very, very arrogant, which is fine, you know, because it opens up for character development, but not a lot of people cared about Iron Man before this film released, so was it really the best idea to open up with a character that was that arrogant? Probably not. And it happened straight away as well. For example, not noticing that there was a female soldier in the van, and also the fact that he intimidates everyone, they're not very likeable characteristics. Tony Stark is the cause for absolutely everything in this movie. Like, anything bad that happens, it is Tony's fault. Obadiah's motives, the missile, and almost dying on several occasions. All because of Tony. And I literally mean every problem. Something this film does a lot is try to convince you that Tony Stark is always working, which does help set up future plot lines in Iron Man 3 and especially Avengers Endgame. But in this movie, it just gets confusing. The first time we hear someone say that Tony is always working, we immediately cut to him having fun in a casino.
He's always working.
Another time when the movie tells us he's working, he's actually cut to playing a game with Yinsen. We do then, when it isn't mentioned, see Tony Stark working. It's as if the film wants to say, Tony Stark is a man of himself, and he's always having fun, he's never working. But he's also working all the time. Like, well, it's just confusing. Now, I love Jeff Bridges in this movie as an actor. The character of Obadiah Stane, on the other hand, is dreadful.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
From the second we see him in this film, we just know he's going to end up becoming the villain or bad in some way. They do this really weird in and out thing where you can tell he's going to become the villain, and then they cut to him being nice to Tony, which, you know, is standard, but then you can tell he's going to become the villain again, and then he's nice to Tony again, and then you can really see he's going to become the villain, and then he's nice to Tony again, and it's like, just pick consistency, pick nice, bad. Don't just go nice, bad. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. There's no consistency in his motives. And when we get the big reveal that he's evil, it's just not jaw-dropping enough. The Ten Rings, the terrorists, the guys that captured Tony, they are made to look very, very intimidating. But they also look extremely stupid. They want one thing from Tony Stark, and that is for him to build a missile. They then see him on a security camera later on, with a ginormous plate of light on his chest, and bits around his arms, and there's bits everywhere. And they're still sat there going, yeah, he's working on the missile. They even see the helmet at one point and just brush it off as if it's nothing. Yes, they look intimidating, and that definitely helps, but at least make them seem like they have some common sense. Make the ability for Tony Stark and Yinsen to build this suit hard. It just feels like they can easily build it. Yeah, there's threats when he's about to, he's about to scold Yinsen, but that's it. Like, there's nothing pressuring about them building it, they just build it. Now, this is something I have mixed feelings about, because personally I feel like the scene is really cool, but it just doesn't make sense. When Rhodey looks at the Mark II suit and says, next time.
Next time, baby.
Oh, the scene's cool, okay? Do not get me wrong, the scene is awesome. But Why next time? Why not now? Yes, it was a great reference to the comics, and it built up to him, well, not Terrence Howard, but Rhodey becoming War Machine. Why couldn't he have used it then, as opposed to in Iron Man 2? What was the difference? Because you can't say that it was because he didn't have enough prep in the suit or he didn't know how to use the suit, because in Iron Man 2, he just puts the suit on, and he's fine. So you can't say that he couldn't have just threw it on because he didn't know how to use it. And also, if Tony needed it at all, it was for this fight, as opposed to just, like, kicking people out of his house party. Like, I just don't, what's the reason why he couldn't have suited up? Tony needed it more then than he did in Iron Man 2. Have I got my facts wrong? Did he not just chuck it on in Iron Man 2? I could have sworn he did. I love the scene, I love the line. But it just doesn't make sense in the story. Now, this one gets on my nerves a lot. There is a lot in this film that should restrict Tony, but doesn't. The fact that he's never flown above a certain height, and it's very dangerous if he does, but he's like, no, I'm going to do it anyway, and he does it, freezes up, he begins to fall. But just like that, he's able to break out of it, and he's fine. And this happens a lot throughout the film, where Tony is basically told, you can't do that, it's way too dangerous. He does it anyway, and then things just coincidentally work out. Like, it just doesn't... When we get to the final fight and we can see that Tony's struggling and he might not make it out alive, it's just, it doesn't, I don't feel any type of pressure. I don't feel like, oh my god, Tony could die. Because throughout the film, we've seen him get out of things really easily. If we show minor flaws where he actually either hurt himself or failed or, you know, something went wrong, then maybe I'd think, oh, hang on, this could go down either way. But no, like, we just constantly see him getting things right when the odds aren't in his favour. Like, what's that? No. Something I also really don't like is they did the stereotypical smart character explains to a not as smart character how to use something or do something that only the smart character knows how to do, but the smart character can't get to there. And then he has to explain to the not so smart character. Basically, when Iron Man's like, Pepper, you got to go to this system and you got to flick this switch and you got to press that to the arc reactor, blah. It's just stereotypical. Like, I don't, like, why did they have to do that? Why couldn't have Pepper known how to do it? Like, we could have had the thing of Tony trying to explain and he's like, well, I've worked for you now for years. Like, I am smart. You do not think I know how to use this, even if very briefly. Like, and that would have been cool. But they didn't do that. They had to act dumb. And he had to explain it all. Now, personally, I think this next con is the biggest flaw in the film. And that's the third act. It's awesome. It's really, really cool. But that's it. It just feels like as soon as Obadiah gets into that suit, all of the narrative is lost. Suddenly, it's just all about action and sparks and throwing cars and ripping pieces of Tony's suit off to make him look battle damaged. The narrative is weak and it feels really disconnected from the main story just because we're trying to see two iron people clashing it out. The action is cool, it is really cool, but I feel like if we just took a bit of it out and added in a bit more plot points, maybe if Obadiah had a specific motive to use Tony's suit, because realistically, he wants Tony's company, he wants Tony's money, he wants everything Tony has, but why does he... Why... Oh, that was a lot. I did not realise I had so many mixed opinions with this film until I re-watched it. But, if there's a shadow, then somewhere there is sunlight. That was very... corny phrase. You have till tomorrow. That line that pushed Tony to work extra hard was perfect. That suit making montage with the clanging of the helmet, oh, it's really cool. And it really shows Tony's worth ethic. Like, we've been shown him messing about a lot. We've shown him not being focused when being said that he's focused, for example, like I mentioned earlier. But now we really see Tony has 24 hours to get this suit done. Obviously, they think it's a missile, but to get this suit done, and if he doesn't, they are absolutely screwed, because obviously they haven't worked on a missile at all. Yinsen's death. We barely know this character. In fact, in the entire film, he had 10 minutes and 45 seconds in total of screen time. So why is it so heartbreaking when he dies? Because the character is done correctly. From the moment that Tony meets him, his only goal is to keep Tony alive. And also we get the very small throwaway, well, supposedly throwaway line that he will see his family soon when he escapes. When later on, when he's dying, we found out his family's actually dead and he can't wait to die because then he can be with his family. Oh, that was Yinsen's a good bloke. That man's a G. That is a character done correctly. We see him for no more than 10 minutes and 45 seconds. That is how much screen time he has. So why was his death so heartbreaking? He was done correctly. This next pro is a sign of great storytelling. Now, when Tony gets back from Afghanistan, he goes to his first ever press conference and he tells everyone to sit down. In order for him to sit down and then kind of all be on his level, they can all see him. No one's having to kind of duck around because he wants to sit down. Then, when he has the next press conference at the end of the movie, he is stood up, but everyone else has seats. They're sat down, but obviously it's not so impromptu. They came prepared, but they're sat down, which is a great callback to earlier on in the film. When he gets back from Afghanistan, he sits down and he wants everyone to sit down too. He has no idea who he really is. Then at the end of the film, he knows that he is Iron Man. He knows what he's become. So he stood up and everyone else is sat down. Whether that was intentional, who knows? I hope it was. Please, Favreau, please say it was. Not that you're watching this. But if you are, I wouldn't mind a cheeseburger, you know, kind of the fast food restaurants haven't really been open recently. This one is my favourite. Tony trusts Pepper with his life. He trusts her to replace his arc reactor. He explains how dangerous it is. He even goes into cardiac arrest at one point. But he trusts Pepper to change his arc reactor. And then he says for her to throw it out. But she's adamant that he shouldn't. And she gives it to him as a gift. Proof that Tony Stark has a heart. Without that, he would have died. He used that arc reactor, the one he told her to throw out, at the end of the film. If she had thrown that out, he would have been dead, but she kept it. She saved Tony's life. It's beautiful. And if the MCU hadn't continued, it captures Tony's and Pepper's relationship perfectly, even if there was no extra development throughout the films. This scene. Our first real look at Iron Man, done perfectly. We've seen him make a suit out of scraps and it was really bulky. But that's not what Iron Man is. The next few films, the next however many films he was in, that's not Iron Man. The first real look we get of who Iron Man is this Mark II suit-up scene. And when we get to see him fly through the city for the first time, you just feel like that, yes, that's Iron Man. That's Iron Man, not the big clunky guy with the fire and the jets that don't work. That was Iron Man, and it was done perfectly.
Jarvis, you there?
At your service, sir.
Gauge heads-up display.
Check.
4-door preferences from home interface.
Will do so.
All right, what do you say?
I have indeed been uploaded, sir.
Now, I know that I said the third act had no narrative, and I still stand by that. I still don't think it does, really. But there is one scene within the third act which is very, very noble. Obadiah Stane has stolen Tony Stark's arc reactor. He cannot survive without it. He uses as much power as he can to get downstairs to grab the Tony Stark has a heart arc reactor that Pepper kept for him. He gets there, it's on top of a table, and he cannot reach it. He lies on the floor and he is about to die. But who grabs the arc reactor for him? His robot. The same robot that we've seen mess up all throughout the film. The one with the video camera, the one with the fire extinguisher, the one that's been not treated badly, but it was kind of like the comic relief. If it weren't for the robot now, Tony would have died. Pepper and Tony, the robot and Tony, I mean, I think we know where the fascination of Ultron came from. Finally, the ending. Tony and Pepper talking, just running through things before he goes up to the press conference. And the lines that stick out to me the most is, and just remember, you're not Iron Man. We got all this thing to say, you can talk about this, you can talk about this, but just remember, you're not Iron Man. It's either a robot or, it's someone else. You are not Iron Man. Tony's like, yeah, I'm not Iron Man, blah, 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 this, that. I'm not Iron Man. Has a piece of paper to read off, walks out to the press conference, people asking some, regular press conference stuff, and he completely disregards the rehearsal and he says the line which probably defines the MCU to this date. This bounces off his arrogant nature. Not necessarily in a bad way, he's not really being a douchebag, but we can see that Tony had clearly gone through the rules of what to say, but he completely disregarded that. He needed the world to trust him, and therefore he was not able to lie. He had been lied to before. He had put trust in people that didn't give it back. So he needs to put trust in the world needs to trust him, so no lies. He is Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
This movie is great. It's fun. And without it, the MCU would not be the same, if even existent. But of course, it is all down to opinion. So if you guys have any different opinions, please be sure to talk about it in the comments below. But be nice to one another. Don't want no, your opinion's wrong. No, it's not. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it, and I really hope you enjoyed. If you really do like our channel, again, please be sure to subscribe. So close to 2,000 subscribers. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.